The information in this broadcast is for educational purposes only and is not provided as a professional service, medical advice, or is it intended or implied to be a substitute for diagnosis or treatment. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained from this broadcast with other sources and review all information regarding any medical condition or treatment with your physician and other appropriate healthcare providers.
Hi, I'm Pete Levine. Welcome to Noggins and Neurons, Stroke and TBI Recovery Simplified. I'm a clinical instructor and clinical researcher. I've co-authored dozens of scientific journal articles about brain injury recovery, and I'm also the author of the book Stronger After Stroke.
I'm Deborah Battistella, occupational therapist, creator of the OT's Guide to Mirror Therapy, and an OT educator. I have a lot of experience working with survivors. Most of my clinical practice has been in a certified stroke center. Pete and I are especially interested in talking about what rehab, neuroscience, and clinical research all have to say about the brain and recovery. But don't worry, our job is to make this stuff simple.
We're here to make it so that everyone, clinicians, clinical students, caregivers, and most importantly, the survivor, understands what it takes to leverage their great neuroplastic brain for recovery.
This podcast began with both Pete and I, two kindred souls with a passion for moving the recovery process forward. If you've started listening more recently, say since the beginning of 2022, you likely noticed that Pete is absent from conversations. This is because he had a rather unexpected and abrupt departure from this earthly plane. Pete's voice remains in the intro in reverence to and respect for his part of our joint vision for this project. Simply put, it wouldn't be where it is today, nor have a future without him. Now, on to another great conversation. Are you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Do you have water nearby?
Do I need some?
Excellent. Well, whatever's in that mug that you have there.
Well, I don't have to disclose that, do I?
Not at all. So, should we get started telling folks what's going on?
Let's do it. Hi.
Hi, Doro.
Hi, Deb.
Here we are on probably a hot day where you are and a day that forgot it's summer here where I am. Many people are probably happy about that, but I'm not. But anyhow, here we are.
Here we
on
are.
Our new adventure.
I was just going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Adventure. Yep.
It's our new adventure. I think we should update people, let everybody know in Noggins and Neurons land what we're up to, what's going to happen, what is happening.
Absolutely.
Do you want to share the news?
No, I think you should share the news.
Okay. Well, recall when Pete wasn't feeling well and we had our one last meeting. I asked him what he wanted to happen with the podcast, and emphatically, he said that he wanted it to continue on, and his next words were, maybe Doro. Pinch hitter. So Pete was an athlete. Apparently, he loved baseball and used a baseball analogy and suggested that you join me on the podcast.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
Nope.
None. And I feel like it's the Pete trickle-down pressure, though, Doro, because I felt that, too, when he asked if I wanted to do a podcast. Oh, no pressure. Can't say no, but how do I say yes?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But I did say yes, and I'm excited to be here with you. And I think we'll have tons of fun. And I hope it'll be a good podcast for both clinicians and brain injury survivors. with lots of valuable information that they
And
can,
their care partners.
and the care partners, yeah, that they can take and apply and learn more.
And students. Let's not forget the students. I think we have a lot of student listeners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all students
Oh, forever.
forever. That's kind of my take in life. I feel like I'm in the field of neuro. I've been in the field of neuro for 11 or 12 years now. I can't remember. But I feel like I'm still a grasshopper.
Oh, that makes me think of that. What's that kid's movie? A Bug's Life.
I still feel like I'm so fresh and I have so much to learn, and I still get so excited about new discoveries and new snippets of knowledge that I can soak up. So I feel like we're all just students, lifelong learners.
I agree. The cool thing for me, this is how I look at it, the more experience we have in an area. So for you and me, it's occupational therapy practice. And for survivors and care partners, it's their journey. So all of us were on this journey together. And the more we learn and integrate within ourselves, the more meaningful the next learning piece becomes. Like the more it makes sense. And I love when the dots actually connect, and it helps me to know what to do or a different way of thinking about something. And then when I get to talk about it with people who get it, like
That's
it
the
just
exciting
becomes
part,
so much
right?
more fun. Yeah,
I know. That's when
Yeah.
we get giddy.
it is. I actually was referred to as a neuro nerd last week.
Oh,
I
I love it. Me too.
know.
Yes.
Yes. It's the best.
Yes. I've been referred to as neuro nerd and unicorn.
Oh yeah, you are definitely
And
a unicorn.
I had no idea. I was like, oh, that's what my daughter has on her backpack. It's pink and kitschy and oh my gosh. Until I figured out it's a mystical creature.
And they're so unique.
And they're so unique.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'll go with it.
So
I feel like you're a
Yeah.
unicorn as well.
Oh, thank you. I love being a unicorn. Not a
Yeah.
mermaid, because the water, I like to be by the water, but not necessarily in it.
In the water?
Yeah. I mean, my feet can go in, my body can go in. Just I don't like my head under the water. But anyhow, I'm thinking that we should revisit how you and I know each other and talk a little bit about your practice so people know who you are, why you're here, beyond just Pete's suggestion.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So we've known each other for what, about a year now?
About a year. Yes, and we met on a Zoom call in which Lynette and I explained a piece of equipment to Pete, and you happened to be on the podcast as well. And not podcast, the call.
Yeah.
And from the first moment, it just clicked. And it turned into a 1 hour long fun phone conversation or Zoom call.
Something like that. I remember feeling so energized after I got off that call. And then Pete and I were texting each other. And then we did another Zoom call after that because we were just so excited about having you on, which, we established that somewhere in the middle of the call that you should be on the podcast.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, it was just super awesome energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's really something to be said about that energy where you connect. And I felt like I hardly knew Pete at the time, but I felt like I knew him really well. And then I felt like I knew you and Lynette. And we were so comfortable when you did join us on the podcast. And we had so much to talk about. We had to make it into 2 episodes.
Yeah, that's we can't shut up.
Wow.
It's hard to stop talking about something you love.
It is. It is.
I get excited about neuro stuff, so.
So you're in the Orlando, Florida area.
I'm in Orlando, Florida. I have an outpatient neuro clinic. small clinic. I started 5.5 years ago after about 5 years in traditional outpatient neuro rehab. And when I realized there's a need for clients to be seen beyond the usual scope, beyond expiration of insurance benefits, once they reach the plateau and were discharged, that's when I decided I need to provide services to those folks and started the Neuro Hub. And we started seeing clients on a regular basis, a couple times a week initially. And then we really got into constraint induced movement therapy with intensive programs. And we customized intensive programs for clients. So we use all kinds of different techniques and technologies, figure out whatever fits a client the best, and then we come up with a custom plan and hit it hard.
I love that because there are a number of options that work. And if people are interested in hearing about those, they can listen to some earlier episodes of the podcast. Pete and I banged them out, a lot of them. And we talked a lot about the evidence and, what works, what doesn't work. And I know one of the things that I've learned so far from doing this podcast, I've learned a lot of things, but I've learned that when we're looking at the research and the evidence, we have to look at the question that's being asked. And, sometimes we look at these results, and especially in neurological recovery, it can seem like people aren't making a lot of progress, but they are making progress because the shifts and the changes, they can be small at times,
Yes.
but we know that they're bigger in the brain. And that's the cool thing about what you do is you take these different interventions that have supporting evidence behind them, and you think about what you know about those, and then what you learn about your clients, and you work with them to figure out what is a plan or a program that's going to work best for them so that they can have some success on their recovery journey.
Absolutely. And we try to really make the program fit the client versus having a one-size-fits-all. And it's a lot of trial and error. We tell our clients in the beginning we're going to try something, and trying means it might not work. And every client is usually okay with it. And it takes us a few days to get to know the client and what really works for them. During an evaluation, you might have certain outcomes that hint in one direction, but then once you get to know the person better and work with them, it's a totally different direction. And then it's okay to change it.
I love that because it's like you get to be real with
Yes.
each other. And I know sometimes in the inpatient rehab setting or in an outpatient setting, as clinicians, it can be so easy to become focused on, well, I've got this many visits, I got to hurry up and get this much in. That's not how recovery works. That's not how our bodies work. It's not how our brains work. And it almost prevents us from building that connection, that rapport with people that as clinicians, we do love. And as survivors and care partners, they need the trusted team. And so you have created this opportunity for you to really use your skills and knowledge in the way that you know how to serve people who really need help beyond this limited insurance window where recovery is paid for, or recovery interventions or therapy is paid for. So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's so cool. And I can't wait to hear more as we talk about things that you've got going through our podcast. You can learn more about Doro's occupational therapy practice and the services they provide at theneurohub.com.
Yes.
We've got some guests scheduled, people that you know, connections that you know, and I'm curious and excited to talk to them. I wonder what you think about us releasing this quickly. I want to edit this and get it out soon, just so people know what we're doing. And then I will still have some episodes where I've interviewed people without you, but just so people know that we've been working together to plan this and figure out what we can do together for some months now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Let's get it out.
Let's get the word out.
Let's get the word out. Let's share the news.
Yeah. So along with that, before I completely shift, I just wanted to kind of provide a little update on what I've been doing on my end with the Creative Concepts business. Over the winter into the spring, I hosted a continuing education study group because I live in New York, and that is one way that we can get continuing education units that are acceptable by the state. I know it's a little different in your state, which, by the way, I am licensed to practice in. Just saying, it feels pretty good. Mm-hmm. And it was such a cool experience. We wanted to learn more about constraint induced movement therapy, and it was so much fun. And of course, when brilliant people get together, they want to do more than just go through research articles and talk about them. Somebody in the group said, can we make a program out of this? And so we did. We ended up making a program, and it was just incredible to see the way different professionals come together. And we're going to do a podcast episode on that experience, because I think there's so much more we can do as clinicians to up-level our practice and learn beyond going to a class and having somebody teach us.
Yes, and I love that you enjoy working with other like-minded individuals. I think it's so important in this profession. And I know there's a lot of people that are very protective of their turf, but I think it helps us grow. It makes us better clinicians in the long run, to just open up and, share our thoughts and knowledge and ideas and all come together. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want the same. We want to help clients in their recovery journey. And I think it's so important to just share that with others. So I love what you do and what you've been doing.
Yeah, the turf protectors. I used to be a turf protector. I didn't understand that. I didn't really understand what collaboration is. And I knew that I liked it and I did it a lot, but I also felt very protective of our profession and my credentials. And then one day, I don't think it was just one day, I think it's over time. I think being in the education setting and teaching has helped me a lot. And learning, so there's that book by Carol Dweck, the mindset book, where she talks about fixed versus growth mindset. I've never read the book. I really should. And I think when we're more fixed and protective of our turf, it's because we don't have a lot of confidence in ourselves. We feel a little insecure, and we don't know that that's where it's coming from. We think other people are trying to trample all over us. But the more confident you become in yourself through learning and just being inquisitive, the more safe you feel to expand your silo and actually connect your silo with others until eventually you see it is what you're saying, all one. We all have the same desired outcome. And we do so much more when we help each other. There's enough for everybody.
There is. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And Pete was always all about that. And I love that. And sometimes I have to remind myself that he was a PT assistant. He was not an occupational therapist, because he thought a lot like an OT, which maybe we all do kind of think alike.
Yeah. I mean, it's always the same end goal.
It really is. Yeah. So I love hanging out with other professionals, and I also love teaching. So I just updated the mirror therapy presentation that I made, and it got me all excited about the brain again. It got me all excited about what Dr. Teasel from the EBRSR talked to Pete and I about with the brain primers and using interventions that work and supporting people in being more confident in using those on their own time so that they can maximize their recovery. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
That sounds super fun.
Oh, it is. The mirror therapy presentation is recorded and it's ready to be viewed. You can learn all about it and other practitioner supports that I've made as well at creativeconceptsot.com. And then I wanted to go somewhere. Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk about our plans. Like, what is our vision?
Drum roll.
Oh, and folks, that is not even one of those fancy podcasting systems. That was Doro.
That was like, yeah, what do you call it? Not beatboxing. That was.
I don't know. That's kind of on the same lines as air guitar, only it actually came out of your mouth. Yeah. Yeah.
See, now I'm thinking of that term. What is it called? Whatever. We're going to just call it a sound effect by Doro.
Yes.
I do make a lot of sound effect noises.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah.
All right. Well, you go ahead and share the news.
Okay.
Ideas, the plans.
How far do you want me to go? Do you want me to go immediate, 6 months, 1 year?
Oh, you just let it flow.
Let it flow?
Let it flow as much as you want.
Yeah. I want to qualify this by saying that this is carrying on Pete's vision as well. Pete and I talked a lot about how to move the podcast forward and how to keep the podcast in integrity. And that's why we don't have sponsors at this point, because we don't want to have to answer to anybody who pays to run an ad on our podcast to make them happy, because then we put ourselves at risk for getting away from the evidence and our values and beliefs around being in integrity. I think I made that 2 words, 1 word. So with that being said, we have a vision for within the next couple of months, and that is to create a podcast membership. Super excited about this. Now, I'm not even looking at my notes. So we want this to be a membership where we provide added value in the membership community. We want to facilitate a sense of community because, communities where people feel safe to try new things. And I just want to say, I did receive an email from a listener this weekend telling me that listening to the podcast is changing the way they're rethinking their OT practice. So the way they deliver services. So I think it's happening.
Which is, that's such a big one.
That is a big one. So we're going to start by having a monthly fee. It will be very affordable for everybody who wants a little bit more. They will be able to get content that we don't release to the public. And they'll get a little one-on-one time or one-to-many time with you and me, where we can talk about whatever works for people and struggles they have, wins that they want to celebrate, all kinds of good stuff in the acquired brain injury recovery world.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And then our next vision.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ooh. This actually gives me a little squeeze in my belly because I feel like I gotta step into a little bit more.
Is it a good squeeze or a bad squeeze?
It's just that thing that lets me know that I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. It's a good squeeze.
That's a good squeeze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, success is just one step outside of your comfort zone. So it's good.
Have you been listening to any audiobooks telling you that, or you just know this?
I don't know.
Oh.
That's just something I picked up somewhere. Well, as long as the stomach squeeze doesn't squeeze out your breakfast, we're good.
Oh, no, it's not that bad.
Got it.
Yeah. So I am becoming an AOTA approved continuing education provider. So I'm just throwing that out there, AOTA, just, letting you know that I plan on becoming that. Mm-hmm. The process is well underway, and you and I are going to offer some continuing oh my God, I'm losing my voice right now.
It's that squeeze in the stomach.
Yeah, it's going the other way. Yeah. So you and I are going to partner to offer some continuing education beyond just a class. So I'm going to say it's going to be highly interactive, excellent learning, fun, and taking clinical knowledge to the clinical application level. Mm-hmm. And then following that, we're going to offer a little bit more. So that is not fully planned out yet, but
it's in the works.
It is in the works. And we know that people need mentorship. It's all over Facebook groups, many different groups. I know people here locally who are offering mentorship because things have changed with OT and OTA education. And I know that you've seen some things recently in the clients that come to you on the clinical end that are letting you know that people need more help to deliver the kind of care that survivors need.
Yes, for sure. We need more in-depth neuroeducation out there beyond what's taught in schools. I feel like neuro is not an entrance level setting. And you see a lot of entrance practitioners in neuro. I was one. I started neuro straight out of school and I had no idea. I really didn't. I just tried to keep my head above water and go with the flow. But I really didn't know a whole lot. I just copied what I saw others doing until I started to really understand neuro and breathe it and immerse myself in it. And I feel like there's not enough people out there to pass on that knowledge, to encourage new clinicians to try out other things, to look beyond what they have learned in school. And to just try it. Yeah.
It's the way of the world right now.
Yeah.
And we have a choice. We can either complain about the way things are and become more and more miserable, or we can do something about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I like it. We're going to do something about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to change the world.
Super excited. I'm super excited. I have taken OT and OTA students, level 2 students, level 1 students over the years. And I love it as a clinician because it challenges me. Of course, I was afraid the first time because it was thrown on me. Oh, guess what? I was going to take the student, but I don't have time. So you do it. I was brand new. And I was like, oh my God, I've never taken a student before. I don't know enough. Never mind the fact that I was a COTA for 6 years before I became an occupational therapist. I did know, but it's like, oh my God, they're going to expose everything I don't know. And then people are going to think I'm a fraud. And yeah, that's all of us.
Yeah. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know. I feel like that's what this community is going to be great. Because it's okay to not know. It's okay to mess up. That's how we all do it. We all learn from it. And that's how we can grow together.
Yeah. And I love the learning together. So what you were saying about like-minded people before, there is just something so magical and bigger than when you study, you learn something, you study, you go home and think about it. But when you start talking about it, which is kind of like what the podcast does, I think. And then when people listen to the podcast, it gets their brains going and then they talk to their colleagues or their care partners or their friends, whoever you are. And that's how the learning and the integrating occurs.
Yeah.
And the sparks are ignited.
And that is the reason why I decided to be on the podcast with you, because you ignite my sparks in my brain. You just have this energy and creativity, determination, and confidence, and of course the years of experience that just make my brain giddy every time we chat. I just get so excited and I get so energized every time we talk, and I think something really good's going to come from it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So nice.
You're welcome.
Oh my God. I got to go now. I got to go. No.
Get the tissues.
Oh, I love being an occupational therapist so much. And I've actually had a couple of people apologize to me for not loving OT the way I do. Like, you don't have to. It's okay. I get it. I never so full disclosure here. I went back to school when I was in my 30s, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I really was lost. And when I found OT, I found a passion. I found something that really resonates with me. And I think, I might have been an OT before I went to school for it. I just didn't know. So, yeah. Fun fact.
Fun fact, yeah. Her gift is neuro and helping people.
Yeah, I love it. And I feel pretty darn excited after talking to you too. So yeah. Okay. All right. So we talked about what you're up to, what I'm up to, what we're doing.
Exciting things ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am so excited after talking about this, and hope that you are as well. You can learn more about the podcast membership by going to nogginsandneurons.supercast.com. You'll learn more about membership, the Founders Circle, and how to sign up. Be sure to spell out the word "and." So that's Noggins, A-N-D, neurons.supercast.com.
What else do we talk about?
I put my notebook with my notes in it in the drawer and got a different one out for this podcast.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What kind
so
of book
maybe
are you reading?
we wrap this up. Yeah. So kind of along this line of what you're saying, like, we inspire each other. And I think every person, no matter who you are, where you are, and what you're doing, you are inspiring other people. What you're inspiring and how you're doing it, that is you being you. But you talk about books all the time. And then you had a Facebook post with an open book talking about the author. And I thought, I love to read too. And so I thought we could wrap this up by talking about books that inspire and share that with other people, because I think it's important to read. I just think reading is important, whether you're reading the actual book or listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what are you reading?
Well,
that was creepy.
I know. Well, actually, over the weekend, I did start a new book yesterday, but I read an entire book over the weekend, a fiction book, which I have not given myself the pleasure of in probably a year or more. And that book is Before You Were Ours. It is fiction based on fact. And my friend's been telling me for years to read it, and I finally read it. So that got me in more of a relaxation mode. But inspirationally, I am finishing up a book that you inspired me to get, and it's an audiobook, and it's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F***
by Mark Manson. Yep.
Yes, it is hilarious.
It's so good, isn't it?
It is. It's so truthful. Yeah. It's, what was your one takeaway from that book? Like, your best takeaway? I know there's not just one takeaway.
To embrace failure. To be okay with f***ing up. to not give a about fucking up.
I'm going to have to beep so many
Excuse
of these out.
I know I was going to say, please beep all of that. Yeah, but to embrace failure, to be okay with messing up just helps us to grow and to really focus on or refocus on our true beliefs and values and to figure out what really matters and stop worrying about the wrong things in life.
Oh my God,
The biggest
yes.
thing I took away from it.
Yeah. What was that panda that he talked about? Is it disappointment panda or something? I don't know. So funny.
Was it disappointment?
I forgot about the panda.
Yes.
Until yesterday he brought it up again.
That's definitely a book I would recommend to anybody to read.
Mm-hmm. You know, I had a PT friend that I used to work with years ago, and she recommended a podcast, different podcast. This was before we started the podcast, but it's the Jim Fortin podcast. I love him. He talks about 100% accountability. And so I've been investigating what does that mean for me? And you can take it pretty deep. And Mark started talking about that in his book. And he talked about being honest, like just saying what's true for you.
Yeah.
And
which is a hard process sometimes.
Oh,
and he says that too. It's for a lot of people, it's a challenge to allow yourself to mess up, to allow yourself to suck at certain things.
It's a challenge to say to another person, I really don't appreciate how you're showing up right now.
Yeah.
Not everybody, it's not always said in nice ways like that.
Yeah.
But it really, so I've been applying it because I'm a believer in application, and it is giving me the confidence and the courage to sit with my own baggage, my own fears. And we all have them. I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care how confident someone appears. They have stuff too. It's all about just being real and feeling it and knowing that we're okay. And when we do that, I think that's when we bring our better selves to whatever it is we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my book that you inspired me.
It's awesome. Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read it again, I think.
Oh, we could probably save ourselves a lot of money by re-listening to books that we buy or rereading books that we buy.
We'll just start a book exchange program or something.
I know. So what are you currently reading?
I just started The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, which is great. I'm not super far into it yet, but so far I love it. It's all about lifestyle design, and instead of saving your money for the retirement, he shifts the focus on living your life now, enjoying life now while you can, because we never know what could happen tomorrow.
No, and living. And, when you talk about living, it makes me think about what is living?
Mm-hmm.
Is living keeping myself wrapped in a little bubble wrap and being afraid to go out of the house? Or is it, knowing that I'm safe and taking the trip to Florida, saying yes to a podcast, going in the pool with your kids,
What's the worst that can happen?
Well, let's ask Mark.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Give it a try. Love that book. That book really helped me with boundary setting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even in Tim Ferriss's book, he says, what's the worst thing that could happen? Exactly. What's the worst that could happen if you go on a 2-week vacation right now and tell your boss that you need a timeout?
Mm-hmm. What is the worst that could happen? Well, you could get fired.
Say no, you get fired. But that,
mm-hmm. But who knows what would happen to you while you're on that vacation? I don't think enough of us give ourselves the space to play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're too wrapped up sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah,
think,
if I were listening to this podcast right now, and I will at some point listen to it, I would find a Tim Ferriss YouTube video where he tells his story about when he was in college because it's pretty powerful.
I was just going to ask you if you know his backstory, all he did, which is inspiring.
Well, I think Tim and I might be some kind of like brother sister combo because a lot of the things that he has come up with, I have come up with without even knowing that he did.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're a martial art champion?
No, more in like just the way we think about things. I've not done near as much as he has. Although we did talk about getting him on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
So Tim, if you're listening to this, feel free to reach out, nogginsandneurons@gmail.com. Let us know that, you're happy to be a guest here with us.
We would welcome you.
Yeah. Speaking of guests on the podcast, in the show notes, I have a simple form that people can fill out if they would like to be a guest. We love when people reach out to us. We've had quite a few people reach out and say, hey, I'd love to be a guest on your show. And we need to talk and see if we're a good fit. And so if anybody's listening and they think they would like to come on and join this kind of fun, yeah, fill out that form in the show notes. It's just on the Podbean website. You'll see it if you scroll down far enough. Well, this is amazing.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Do we have anything else to talk about? I'm trying to think.
What are you doing today? Like, are you doing something fun today? Or are you going to go change a life today?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, maybe. I haven't planned for it yet, but it could happen. No, I'm still taking a day off today.
Good for you.
Yep. And I enjoy last days of summer with the kids and the family. And
Nice.
just relax and do something fun.
With the family, including the man without a head.
Yes.
Yeah.
The headless man. I told him last night that's his name now. He thought it was funny.
Well, now just so people know, we met yesterday before this official thing that we're doing here. We were having some technical difficulties, and the headless man came in the room. So this man was walking around. I never saw a face. I heard a voice. I saw a body. So now I refer to him as the man without a head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who happens to be my husband.
All right. Well,
All right.
I think this wraps everything up.
Yes, I think we touched base on everything. Gave a little bit of a update to everybody what we're about to do. And I can't wait. I'm excited.
I
Let's
know.
do
Me
it.
too. Me too. And there will be a membership sign up link in the show notes for this episode. So be sure to look for that. If you're interested in becoming a part of our community, the Noggins and Neurons community.
Who wouldn't want to hang out with us?
Right?
Right?
I know. The silliness is what I have been missing. I brought a lot of silliness to the clinical settings that I was in. And I will just throw this one last thing out there, that when I first started being an occupational therapy practitioner, I could always tell where the therapy office was because the laughter resonated so loudly throughout the building.
Yes, I love it.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I just have one last question. Are you feeling a little more settled now?
Oh yeah, I could go on for hours now. I'm good to go.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
It was just the first 3 minutes of, hey, I'm about to hit record. Are you ready?
Oh my God. I know. I felt it this morning and Pete and I felt it. We felt it a lot for
Which
many
is-
episodes.
Which is
before
so funny because I've never felt unsettled or afraid or anxious during podcasts. But today is the first one where I kind of had those butterflies in my stomach. But I think it was good butterflies.
Yeah. It's the caring. I think it's when you care. That
Yeah.
happens. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We appreciate your support and would love to hear from you. Ask us questions and share your thoughts by email at nogginsandneurons@gmail.com. That's noggins, the word and spelled out, neurons @gmail.com. If you like what you heard, please share this podcast with others you think will benefit. Also, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We'll catch you next time on Noggins and Neurons, Stroke and TBI Recovery Simplified.